Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and today we are going to be going over the buyer's guide for the 2019 to 2020 Ram 2500 and 3500. Now, a quick disclaimer, I'm going to be going over every single trim package except for the Power Wagon. I plan on making a standalone video for the Power Wagon just because of all the stuff that's associated with it. And yeah, it's a complicated truck, but it's a cool truck. But anyways, in the first part of this video, I want to quickly go over the engine options that you can get for the truck, and then also the transmission options on the 2500 and 3500s. And then I'm going to get into the actual trim packages, so the different interior packages that you can get with the truck. And then finally, we're going to go over issues and I guess the specs that I would get and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into the video. Well, let's get into the engine options for the 2500 and 3500. First off, with the 2500, there's two engine options. There is the 6.7 liter Cummins and the 6.4 Hemi. Now, they used to offer a 5.7 liter Hemi, but they got rid of that in 2019. So 2018 was the last year that you could get a truck with that. When they went to the new body style, they got rid of the 5.7. Now, if you're wondering why they got rid of it, it was because the power on it left much to be desired for how big the truck is. And then the fuel economy was abysmal because the 5.7 wasn't big enough to be able to do cylinder deactivation. Just because of how large the truck is, it couldn't run off of 4 cylinders. And just because of all those reasons, they instead put their effort into the 6.4 Hemi, which made more sense because you can get cylinder deactivation with the 6.4 Hemi. Gets a little bit better fuel economy in a heavy duty than the 5.7. So yeah, that's why they got rid of the 5.7. Anyways, with the 6.4 Hemi, it is paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs on that engine are 410 horsepower and then 429 foot-pounds of torque. And that's the only kind of like configuration you can get with that. Now, with the 6.7 liter Cummins, that only comes with one transmission option. That is the 68 RFE, and that's a 6-speed automatic. So if you get the 6.4 Hemi, you get an 8-speed. If you get the 6.7 liter Cummins, you only get a 6-speed. Now, in terms of power outputs, it's 370 horsepower and then 850 pound-feet of torque, and you cannot get any power upgrades or anything on the 2500s. That's it. Now, if you go up to the 3500, you actually get 3 different engine options, technically. You get the 6.4 Hemi again, you get the 6.7 Cummins, and then you get the 6.7 Cummins in the high output version. Now, the 6.4 Hemi in the 3500s is identical to the 2500s. Again, it's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and it has the same power outputs. 410 horsepower, 429 foot-pounds of torque. That's it, plain and simple. The 6.7 liter Cummins, again, is exactly the same as what's in the 2500. It has 370 horsepower and then 850 foot-pounds of torque, and it's paired to the 68 RFE. Now, the difference is going to be with the high output version of the Cummins. Now, it's still 6.7 liters. It's paired to a different transmission. It's the 6-speed Aisin, which is a much heavier duty transmission, just in terms of how long it's going to last for and then what it can take in terms of a beating. Now, that particular engine and transmission pairing puts out 400 horsepower and then 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. And yeah, there's your different engine and transmission options on the 2019 to 2020 Ram 2500 and 3500. Let's get into the different trim packages. Now, the first package is the Tradesman. This is like your entry-level work truck package. And with the Tradesman, like I said, it's just an entry-level work truck. Comes with cloth seats as standard. You can get vinyl seats. You can get vinyl floors with it. And it's just the basic truck. You don't get power seats. You get the smaller infotainment system. It'll come with halogen lights on the outside. And really, it's a base model, right? It's the Tradesman. It's supposed to be the work truck. Now, if I were to get a Tradesman, engine options aside, because I am going to talk about engines in a moment, I would spec mine out to have 410 gears if I got the Hemi, just because I want the higher towing capacity. I would get a bed liner from the factory. I'd get side steps. I'd actually get blind spot monitoring just for safety and anti-spin in the rear end as well, but that's pretty much it. I would just keep it pretty simple. I wouldn't want to do too much to hike up the price, just because if I'm getting a base model truck, I don't want to pay a premium for it, right? Now, the next package is the Bighorn package. With the Bighorn package, this is like your fully loaded cloth interior package. So you get stuff like a power seat, power rear sliding window is an option. It used to be standard equipment, but now it's optional, which is weird to me. You can get the bigger touchscreen on it. You can even get a 12-inch display if you want. The cloth seats themselves will be nicer. It's more premium cloth, and you can get a little bit more at the exterior, right? You can get LED lights if you want. You can get a sport appearance package if you want. Again, the Bighorn is like your fully loaded cloth. So think of that as like your luxury cloth interior. That's the best way to look at a Bighorn. Now, if I were to get a Bighorn, again, I'm not going to go over the rear end stuff, but let's just assume I would get 410 gears with any of these trucks just for higher towing, and then anti-spin in the rear end. Bed liner, we're going to assume that in side steps. Now with the Bighorn, I would get the blind spot monitor again, and then I might consider getting the LED lighting group just because it's available, and also that helps with visibility a ton. And then I might get like a night edition or a sport package just to make the Bighorn a little bit nicer. Now, the next one is going to be the Laramie package. This is your entry-level luxury package. The Laramie is going to come with leather upholstery. You'll get heated and cooled seats, a standard heated steering wheel, as standard equipment. You'll get the bigger infotainment system, nicer sound system. As standard, you'll get power rear sliding window as standard equipment. It'll have LED lights as standard. So again, it's like your entry-level luxury truck, and it comes with most equipment standard. Now there's some things you have to add, like if you want the super premium sound system, do you want a sunroof, and other packages. Again, now with the Laramie, how I'd spec it out, I probably wouldn't get the fully upgraded sound system because I'm okay with the sound system the Laramie already comes with. Other than that, I would add, again, like a night edition or a sport package just to make it look a little bit nicer. And obviously, yeah, spray and bed liner would be a thing for sure. And yeah, again, with the Laramie, I would keep it pretty simple. There's not a whole lot that I would feel like I would need to add to it. Now, the next package is going to be the Longhorn. The Longhorn is the Western theme for the 2500 and the 3500. So it has pretty much all the same equipment as the Laramie, just a couple more things as standard, like a bed liner is standard, for example. And you can get stuff like power running boards, which you actually can get on a Laramie as well. But again, it's the Western theme version. Now, it is going to have nicer leather seats. It's real leather. You're going to have nicer wood accents on the Longhorn. And again, it's just going to be the Western theme. Now, if I personally were to spec out a Longhorn, the only thing I'd add would be the level 1 equipment group with it, so that I can just get the added features that comes with that, which is nice, get a little bit nicer sound system, all that kind of stuff, which if I got a Longhorn, I would want the highest sound system, just because if I'm going to pay the money for that truck, I'm going to pay the money to get a little bit nicer sound system. Other than that, though, again, there's not a whole lot else that I would add to the Longhorn. It comes with so much stuff as standard equipment already. Now, the last package is going to be the Limited, and this is like your fully loaded luxury edition. The Limited comes with pretty much everything standard, and again, it's going to have the nicer interior, nicer leather upholstery. It's going to be a little bit different on the outside, just like the Longhorn is on the outside. It's going to have a little bit different headlights. Everything else, though, is going to be pretty similar compared to a Laramie. It's going to have a lot of similar features as the Laramie. It's just, again, you're paying for a nicer interior with the Limited. Now, if I were to get a Limited heavy duty, again, I'd add that level 1 equipment group for sure, maybe add a sunroof, but other than that, it comes with so much stuff as standard equipment that there's not a whole lot that I'd feel like I would need to add to the Limited trim level. Now, let's get into the common issues with the truck. First off, let's get into the interior. Obviously, there's a lot of electronics, and this applies to pretty much every single new vehicle. But because there's so many electronics on the interior, just be aware of that, and be aware that stuff can just break, right? And especially if you have the truck for a ton of miles, chances of something break definitely increase. So again, just be aware of that. Now, the next thing is going to be with the engine and transmission. Now, I wanted to save my choice of engine till this part because there's a good reason why. Now, if I was going to be buying a 2500, I'd probably get a 6.4 Hemi with it. And that's just assuming that I wouldn't be using the truck to tow. If I needed to tow with the truck, yes, I'd get the diesel. Diesels are always going to tow better than gas engines. They just have higher towing capacities, and also just how they tow is just so much smoother, right? They aren't going to be revving out like crazy. And that's just what happens with a gas engine compared to a diesel engine, because the diesel has so much torque. But regardless of that, the other reason why I'd pick the 6.4 Hemi if I didn't need to tow is just it's going to cost less in the long run, just because there's not going to be as much to replace on it, and everything for a gas engine is always cheaper to repair than what's on a diesel. The other thing is the transmission. That 68 RFE has already had some issues in the past generation, and right now in the current generation, sorry, not previous, but the current generation, there's actually a recall on the transmission. There's a complete stop sale on all trucks with the 68 RFE. So that's also what would push me away from the diesel, is if I can't get the ice in, you know what I mean? It kind of scares me to get that 68 RFE. Now, I'm not saying it's a complete junk transmission, but it's had its issues in the past, and right now it's actually having some issues as well. Now, the next thing would be the 3500. I would just get the high output with the Aisin. That transmission is amazing, and obviously all the torque and power are way better than the 6.4 Hemi. I don't have reliability concerns, so that's kind of my pick. If I got a 2500, I'd probably lean towards the gas engine. If I got a 3500, I'd probably get the diesel with the high output. If not, the gas engine is super solid. That 8-speed automatic is really smooth shifting through the gears, and yeah, those are the problems that I've noticed so far. So just the transmission. By the way, that transmission problem is serious. Like, From what I've been told, it is something is leaking or whatever with the truck, and it causes the truck to literally light on fire. And it's any vehicle that has that 68 RFE transmission, so just be aware of that. Let's get into pricing on the trucks. Now, there's a pretty big range on the heavy duties. If you go all the way to the base model tradesman with pretty much nothing added, you're in like the $30,000 range. But if you go all the way up to the limited, I mean, you can spec a limited to over $90,000 now. So yeah, there's a huge price range on them. Now, in terms of each trim package, the tradesman typically will have a decent amount of discount from the dealership, and usually they've got the rebates on the heavy duty are going to be the same all across the lineup, whether you get a tradesman, Bighorn, Laramie, Longhorn, or limited. So just be aware that the rebate usually doesn't change, just the dealer discount will change. So if you get a more expensive truck, like a limited compared to a tradesman, is going to have typically more discount from the dealership, just because there's more markup in the truck, and Dodge dealers just tend to discount their product more. Even if they have more markup, they usually just discount it, if that makes sense. So just expect pretty good discount on any of the trucks, and expect the rebates to pretty much be the same across the line on the pricing standpoint. So I guess just find out what your budget is, and then find out which trim package fits within your budget. Well, that is pretty much going to sum things up for my buyer's guide on the 2500s and the 3500s. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section below which vehicle you want me to do for my next buyer guide. Like I said, I'm going to be doing an individual one on the Raptor and then one on the Power Wagon as well, just because they're a little bit more of a specialty vehicle. But as always, if you're stopping for the first time, please subscribe, comment down below what you think, and then I will see all of you in that next video.